boy who lived. Come to die.
And welcome to the Out the Mud podcast. This is a special episode, one that is sure to chill your bones, curl your toes, and maybe even have you crying out for mommy. So be prepared to get scared as we discuss our favorite Halloween movies.
Alright, so I am Rodney, and next to me as always is Pat, and today we will be discussing our favorite Halloween movies as previously stated, and I'm just going to go ahead and kick it off with my number one, which would be It.
What a nice boat. Do you want it back?
Yes, please.
So It 2017 is starring Bill Skarsgård as the titular clown, and basically what he does is he goes around, is this evil ancient entity that goes around terrifying kids. You know, he appears once every 27 years, and his purpose is to just eat children because he feeds off of fear.
My number one, I have Jennifer's Body.
Think that I do? You were such a player hater.
You're a jerk.
Wow, nice insult, Hannah Montana. You got any more first dates?
You know what? You were never a good friend. Even when we were little, you used to steal my toys and pour lemonade on my bed.
And now I'm eating your boyfriend. See? At least I'm consistent.
Why do you need him? Huh? You could have anybody that you want, Jennifer. So, why Chip? Is it just to tick me off?
You know, starring the one and only Megan Fine-Ass Fox. As well as Amanda Seyfried. It came out in 2009. It's pretty much a high school cheerleader. She dies and gets possessed by a demon. Pretty much she goes around killing men. That's it. You know, some reasons I like it. It's pretty much, it feeds into it's cringe. It's very dated if you watch it, but it's still funny, entertaining. There's a lot of things they do on purpose to make it feel odd and weird, but it's actually very enjoyable once you get down and you understand that this is going to be cringe, but it's for comedic effect.
Alright, so my number two would be Hereditary. So Hereditary is about a family that is tormented by unforeseen forces shortly after the death of their matriarchal grandmother, and so what happens is after that, a bunch of unexplainable things happens, and it's up to the mother of the family to figure out what exactly is going on and unearth a sinister plot. The reason I like the movie is that personally, well, maybe not even so much as like the movie, I respect the movie. Because I'll be honest, I was 19 years old when this movie came out in theaters. I saw it by myself at 8 o'clock at night or so. By the end, I was completely terrified and I was afraid to get up out of the theater and leave. That's the kind of effect this movie had on me. So yeah, that's definitely one that sticks out in my mind.
Oh yeah, before I go to number two for me, I just want to explain why we're doing this. You know, it's the season, it's October. There's not really Thanksgiving movies to talk about. So I guess the next best thing would have been Halloween or / scary movies, you know, just something to like, everyone watches it. It's like one of the few times you just sit down and watch a bunch of scary movies. You don't have to believe in Halloween or even celebrate or anything because you know how it is nowadays. But It's just something fun to do to get you in the mood or whatever. So we're just deciding to discuss our favorite Halloween/scary movies. Riding off of that, my number 2 is My Babysitter's a Vampire, the TV show. It's starring Matthew Knight as Ethan, Atticus Mitchell as Benny, and Vanessa Morgan as Sarah. It is based off a Disney Channel original movie, which has the same name, My Babysitter's a Vampire. It's pretty much exactly what it is. These 2 high school kids end up with a babysitter. They're nerds. They're kind of losers, but their babysitter's hot. And she ends up being a vampire. They go on a bunch of wacky adventures. The show lasted 2 seasons, and there was a 3rd season in tow, but Disney cut it short for some reason. It had good ratings. People loved it, but you know how Disney is nowadays. It doesn't make a lot of money, so they cut it.
Right. So from my 3rd is gonna be Don't Breathe. It came out in 2016, and basically it stars a group of teenage fugitives, criminals that go around in the suburbs of Detroit, and they rob houses in an attempt to just basically move away from Detroit and live a different life, kind of, break away from everything they've known. And so one night they decide to break into an old blind veteran's house, thinking that it's going to be an easy job. He's blind, so they'll be able to just get the money and slip out. But as they find out throughout the night, this veteran is more than capable of handling himself, and they find the job to be way, way tougher than they could have ever possibly imagined. I like the movie because it's very unique. You don't really see anything like that too often in horror, just in film in general. And it sounds crazy and it sounds ridiculous.
It was.
A blind old man in the dark using his heightened senses to hunt a bunch of teenagers. Sounds crazy, but when you actually sit down and watch it, you find out it's actually very well executed.
I honestly thought it was something that was a video game. I thought he was watching a video game. And I'm like when she was in the car with the dog and the dog was barking and scratching at the car, I'm like, all right, this dog is going to get through somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But exactly how, I have no idea. And when it did, I was very surprised and shocked at the way they did it. It was done pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that I didn't really expect. But for me, number 3 is the well-loved and well-known The Nightmare Before Christmas by Tim Burton himself. I've always loved claymation animated movies, and this one I feel like is one of the best of all time. It's debatable whether it's a Christmas movie or a Halloween movie. Each year I am conflicted, so I change it up. This year I thought it was a Halloween movie. Last year was Christmas. It kind of rotates, based on people you talk to, based on the age you're at when you see it. It stars Danny Elfman, Chris Sarandon, Catherine O'Hara. It was made in 1993, which I had no idea it was made that long ago.
Oh, really? When did you think it was made?
In the mid-2000s. I thought it was a mid-2000s movie.
It's older than us.
The movie's pretty much about Jack Skellington, who's the queen of Halloween Town, not to get mixed up with the Disney's Halloween Town. And he discovers Christmas Town, but his attempts to bring Christmas to his home causes confusion. It's not a tropey story, but it's one that everyone can enjoy, I guess, of pretty much all ages. I was struggling with this one between Nightmare Before Christmas and The Corpse Bride, which is also by Tim Burton. Another good one, but I don't feel it's as much loved. It stars Johnny Depp, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in his old heydays.
Back when he was actually a respected actor.
Hey, I still respect him.
I do. Johnny is like my second favorite actor, but for the last decade, other than those Pirates of the Caribbean movies, he ain't had a whole lot.
Quick plug. Speaking of Johnny Depp in animated movies, have you seen Rango? It is not a Halloween movie, but I suggest you see it this year if you have not.
One of the most underrated movies of the last decade. It gets no love, no appreciation, no nothing. I was a huge fan straight out the gate. I had the game and everything.
Like, speaking of Johnny Depp, the thing with Johnny Depp movies is you could tell it's Johnny Depp. Just his mannerism in every single role he plays is like, oh yeah, that's Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah, most definitely. All you have to do is just hear a little bit of his voice. You already know who that is.
Like the latest Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie. It feels like a Halloween movie because of the way Johnny Depp plays Willy Wonka. So weird and disconnected from the world. And it's like, okay, this is a scary flick. But it's not.
It's scarier than half of the Halloween or horror movies I've seen, to be honest with you. And that's solely just because of Johnny's performance.
Also, The Nightmare Before Christmas, back to going on this, is directed by the legendary Henry Selick, who does a lot of claymation movies. Most of claymation movies are usually directed by Henry Selick.
Alright, so going off of that, my fourth is the same movie, Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, for me personally, I've always been a fan of the movie. My sister is a gigantic fan. She loves this thing. She was obsessed with this thing when we were kids.
She got good taste in.
Oh yeah. No, but see, just going off of what Pat said, so it's a classic. It's very debatable whether it's a Halloween movie or it's a Christmas movie. Usually, I watch it as a Christmas movie because in the middle of a Christmas day in the afternoon, I'm like, it's on. Let me go ahead and watch it. But this year, I'm viewing it as more of a Halloween movie just because why not? It's fun to switch it up every year. And yeah, basically, timeless story, great message, starring, Jack Skellington, iconic character, very underrated in my opinion. Great singer. He can sing.
Yes.
But yeah, overall, great story, something everyone can relate to, young or old. Doesn't really matter if you're 5 or 50, everyone can enjoy this movie. And it's filled with so many great shots, so much great claymation that holds up to this day. And it's pretty much a complete package. There's nothing you can really look at as a point of weakness. All the actors do a great job. Like I said, the effects are amazing and it just holds up to this day. Even being how old is it? Came out in 1993.
Yeah, it's over 2 decades old, right?
Yeah, it's older than us, but it definitely held up.
It's almost 30 years old. It's 17 years old. The 17-year-old movie still holds up today.
27-year-old? And
yeah, you know I ain't the best at math, man. You know what it is. You know how it is. All right, now piggybacking off of claymation, my number 4 and one of my favorite movies of late for Halloween is Coraline.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello, Coraline. Want to hear my new song?
My father can't play piano.
No need to. This piano plays me.
Based off a book by Neil Gaiman. Now, quick backstory. I first saw Coraline my freshman year of college. Coraline came out in 2009, okay? So, the problem with me watching it this late was, I'm like, this isn't scary, it's a children's movie. So I watched it at like 2 a.m. at night, alright? I was like, alright, this is not gonna be that scary. I turned off every light in my room. Every single light. I locked the door, turned off every single light. And I'm like, I'm gonna hop down and watch Coraline. Now, the opening theme song for Coraline had me scared as hell. I couldn't even understand what the words were being said, but I'm like, this is something I might need to worry about.
Yeah, when she's stitching the doll up and everything and sending it into the world, shit.
It's like a voodoo doll. The only thing that would have made my Coraline experience worse was if I was high. Not saying that I do that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? This is a lighthearted podcast.
Yes, sir.
But
we're not plugging drugs, so we're just putting that out there.
Yes, that's a nice PSA transition.
Hugs, not drugs. Crack is whack and all that.
But the movie stars Dakota Fanning, Terry Hatcher, John Hodgman. And like I said, it's based off a book by Neil Gaiman. I actually got the book this year. I'm trying to read it and see how accurate it is to the claymation. Because, you know, claymation takes a very long time to make and produce. It could take up to 10 years, actually.
Oh, yeah.
The way it's stop motion pretty much as well. So that's how they have to film it. And the summary is, it's an adventurous 11-year-old girl finds another world that is a strangely idealized version of her frustrating home. But it has sinister secrets. I feel like most kids, teenagers, can relate to this movie. Because it's like going into a world that's not your own, but it's your idealized version of what you want. And as you continue to live through that world, you find out it's not all it is cracked up to be. And there are things you have to sacrifice, and a lot of that is related through the other mother, the sacrifice Coraline has to make with the buttons. I'm not trying to spoil anything, but I'm just trying to get the gist of what this movie is about.
Oh, yes.
It's almost like a coming of age movie where you realize that you should count your blessings and appreciate the things around you.
Yes. Yeah, and just to add to that, I watched this movie I watched the movie about a year ago around this time for the first time in 10 years. The thing was scarier then than it was when I was like a kid. Like, man, I don't know what the thing is. I watched the thing in my college dorm alone on a rainy day. One of the worst mistakes of my life. That thing scared me to death. At 20 years old, people. Movie's no joke. Oh yeah, but for my fifth and final movie, it's gonna be. It's not really a scary movie. It's not really a horror or anything. Not even really Halloween. But I just wanted to talk about it anyway, since it gets no love or appreciation. That would be Shape of Water, directed by Guillermo del Toro. And this is a movie that is very, very outside of the box. So
don't watch this movie.
So yeah,
don't watch this movie.
No, don't listen. So it's a fisherman who is captured one day by a secret research facility, and out of nowhere there's this blind woman, or well, she's not blind, she's deaf. She works at the facility, and as she is tasked with working with the fishman in order to understand him, she begins to fall in love with him. I know it sounds crazy.
That ain't it. That ain't it.
Oh, it definitely isn't. But just for the sake of, fantasy and all that, we'll just keep it going. But this movie is very, very unique. There's nothing like it. You have a deaf woman falling in love with a fisherman. I mean, what more can you want?
First of all, I want to know who the director, who the writer, and who did the storyboard. Because that is something you think of in a fever dream, Rodney. That's a lucid dream when you're high, when you're drunk, you're on some Molly or something. That ain't it, man.
No, but see, you gotta understand. It sounds insane on paper, but if you actually watch it, you will see why this movie won Best Picture at the what was it? What was the Oscars in 2018? Yeah, it won in 2018 for Best Picture, people. Now, I mean, how can that be a bad movie?
We all know the Oscars be tripping sometimes.
Yeah,
know that.
Yeah, true, but not in this case. This movie is amazing. It's very inventive, very creative. All the performances across the board were amazing, and it's just a very, very. If you like things that are a little bit different, this movie is definitely for you.
All right, and my final movie is. First of all, I want you to guess and see what movie this is. I'm gonna do a little something. All right, anyone guess what that is?
What do you want me to guess? I already know.
Okay, what is it, Rodney?
Harry Potter.
Absolutely. I had to watch myself there, you know what I mean? Yes, it is Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling, based off of her 7 books, but they split it up into 8 movies. Mm-hmm. Personally, my favorite movie is Order of the Phoenix and Chamber of Secrets. My favorite book is The Half-Blood Prince. Now, just because I have this as number 5 does not mean every movie is my favorite. Because don't get me wrong, I don't like every single movie. I'm actually trying to get Rodney on to watch it. He's never seen it.
I actually have seen the first 2 and like the first 30 minutes of the third, and then I just kind of stopped. And bits and pieces of here that's been on TV every now and then on a Sunday afternoon, but other than that, never really watched it.
As most people know, it's starring Daniel Radcliffe,
Of course.
Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson. And it's basically about a young boy wizard who just grows up to defeat this Dark Lord presence, pretty much. It's
My individual Voldemort.
It's pretty much like almost like a coming of age tale, you know, just with wizards.
Mm-hmm. And shit, who doesn't love wizards? Other than the Christians, right? Part of the reason I didn't watch it, because, you know, we grew up in Christian school and, you know, wizards and warlocks and all that. Oof. Not just that, but Yu-Gi-Oh! As well, people. They ain't like Yu-Gi-Oh! And they sure didn't like Pokemon.
When I was in 8th grade, there was literally a girl that the school threatened to expel because she wrote like a 5 or 6 page paper on how Harry Potter is being compared to Christ by J.K. Rowling. Because, you know, he was the chosen one. He was the one to defeat the ultimate dark presence, which is, of course, Voldemort. Mm-hmm. And she compared him to Satan. And it was just very odd. And the school had a fit with that. They did not like her at all.
Oh, I'm not surprised. But back to that Pokemon thing. Funniest thing I've ever heard of Pokemon, I've never even, like, as far as what I've seen of the show, you know, as far as playing, you know, Pokemon Go or whatever, the funniest thing that I've ever heard pertaining to Pokemon is that a kid got kicked out of school for playing Pokemon because it taught evolution. Now, that's not the funniest thing.
Oh, evolution, bro?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Pokemon Go, to put it nicely, is exercise for nerds. I'm sorry. That's the only time I've seen a group of nerds out and about, unless it's a cosplay event or Halloween. Mm-hmm. You just see a bunch of nerds walking around, and they be talking about stuff you don't even understand. They're like, I think I found 2 Charizards. Like, bruh, what is a Charizard? They're like, oh, it's over there in the bush.
One of my favorite stories as far as Pokemon Go goes is apparently... I don't know if this was in Charleston or whatever, but oh yeah, I remember now. It was in Detroit, I think, of course. And you had 2 different sets of trainers running around looking for, I believe it was a Lucario or something like that. And they got into like the middle of like a certain square or whatever, or a park, have you. And apparently a gunfight broke out over Lucario. Now just imagine that, people. You trying to shoot and kill someone over a fictionalized character in a game. I mean, couldn't be me.
Okay. I saw you raging the other day at Final Fantasy now.
Hey, well, that's different. I didn't try to take someone's life over.
Alright, I guess some other things we could talk about is Halloween movies or scary movies that aren't our favorites, but one that we would recommend other people see. A recent one for me would be The Witcher on Netflix. I haven't played the video game, but I did really enjoy the TV show. Disclaimer, it does have cursing and nudity in it, although it's not a lot and it's not graphic. There is it in it, and there is a lot of bloodshed and whatnot due to him being a monster hunter or monster killer.
Of course.
But I really enjoyed the show. It's only like 6 to 8 episodes. It stars Henry Cavill. You know, the hoes love Henry Cavill. He's got that chiseled chin.
Oh yeah, for real.
AKA Superman.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a pretty good movie. The things that he had to go through to get into condition to actually play The Witcher, like he deprived himself of water for like for a couple weeks actually, to just make himself look like the actual character. Mm-hmm. He wasn't drinking water. He was just eating and drinking like other things to substitute. Is this something that you learn off camera and about the actors that almost makes you really appreciate some of the things they do in order to bring entertainment to us? So yeah, for me, one thing is The Witcher. I'm gonna switch over to Rodney. He can tell you something and I'll come back later with another one.
All right, so let me think. It's a good horror movie. Well, one I can definitely not recommend is Midsommar. I don't know if any
oh my
of you
goodness, I've heard of that.
I don't know if any of you have heard of this thing. Now, a little backdrop. This came out in 2019, last year. So I was very excited for this movie just for the fact that it was by the same guy who did Hereditary, and Hereditary set the bar very, very high. And so coming into Midsommar, I expected a masterpiece, and all I got was just basically a bunch of 20-something-year-olds in the middle of nowhere. And it was just a bunch of weird rituals and just stupid stuff that made no sense. And then an ending that was just more dumb.
Creepy vibes all around.
Oh yeah, it was creepy, but it was just so dumb. Like, I don't know.
It's a Wattpad fantasy.
Yeah, basically, because I'm the type of person personally to where if I like a movie, I will see it 2 and 3 and 4 times in theaters. I walked out of there and I said, I will never pay money to watch this ever again. So that should tell you right there. It's nonsensical. The characters aren't very deep or interesting. It's just boring. So I wouldn't recommend Midsommar, but that's just me. People tell me I'm crazy for that all the time.
Another one for me would be Hocus Pocus. And I'll be surprised if I meet someone that hasn't seen Hocus Pocus.
I ain't seen it in years.
Okay, that's fine. At least you've seen it though. It's a classic. It doesn't quite hold up, but it's still an enjoyable movie, you know, based off of straight nostalgia. You get to see these characters again. Just bring back good memories.
Show us another one. Oh yeah, the Halloween special of Fairly Odd Parents was lit back in the day. I don't know about
I don't even know about that. What is it about?
You don't remember that?
No.
Where it was like the Pumpkinator and stuff like that?
Nope. No idea.
I barely remember it, to be honest with you. All I remember is Timmy was dressed like Crash Nebula. And shit, and that's about it. Oh yeah, and the Crimson Chin.
Oh yeah, I love the Crimson Chin.
We all remember the Crimson Chin. You remember, the Nega Chin, or as I like.
Don't even.
Yeah, he had an alter ego. He was black, called the Nega Chin. That's N-E-G-A Chin. There you go.
And for the Disney fans out there, I would recommend Halloween Town. There's 4 movies. The last one has a different actor. But it's a classic. They're bad movies nowadays looking back at it. They're definitely like prick your nostalgia. The first one is Halloween Town. The second one is Halloween Town Calabar's Revenge. Then you have Halloween Town High. And then you have Return to Halloween Town. They are actually filmed in a location, I think, in the Midwest. And each year they put on a Halloween Town festival because they still have a lot of the props and whatnot they use for the actual movie. And some of the actors return. And they celebrate Halloween. They dress up as some of the Halloween Town characters. And it's just cool. You can look it up on YouTube, actually, and watch it. And that's basically it for that movie. Anything else, Rodney?
I think I'm just about good, actually, I think I named everything I needed to name. Ranted about everything I needed to rant about. I'm pretty much good.
Okay, I guess we could transition. Any scary video games that you would recommend people play?
The Evil Within, even though I never finished it, one of our good friends, he had it, but it was quote-unquote too scary to finish. Now, the thing about him is that he scares easily, so you can't really take his word on too many things when it comes to that. Another great horror game, it's a classic, everyone knows it. Good old Resident Evil. Everyone loves Resident Evil. They've had the remakes recently. They've been very successful, and I am also very much looking forward to Resident Evil Village, also known as Resident Evil 8. It's continuing with the first-person perspective that they started in Resident Evil 7 and continuing that story as well. And it just looks to be a continuation of a great revitalization of a series that many people had felt kind of past its prime, because really after Resident Evil 4, most people have been kind of indifferent towards it until Resident Evil 2 the remake came out in early 2019, and since then people have been excited for Resident Evil again. So that's definitely one to look for. Everyone loves Resident Evil, at least people who really grew up with it. Our generation may not be as familiar with it because it kind of fell off, but still, it is very much a staple in just horror in general. Just horror media, regardless of, movies, TV, games. You can't go wrong with Resident Evil.
Now, I know some people out here listening are like, what about Friday the 13th? What about Saw? What about, what's that other one called?
Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah, and Chucky. I know people are like, why did they skip those? Those are not even near close to my favorites. I'm sorry.
I mean, I watched Friday the 13th the other day, and I have to admit, I was laughing through most of it, but the last 30 minutes or so were actually pretty effective. Now, for a movie that came out in 1980, it's understandable because, times
so many of them,
though. I mean, yeah, I really only seen the first one, but times have changed, budget wasn't what it is today, and the effects just weren't there. But basically, with Friday the 13th, it's more of a movie about gore and spectacle and style, really, over any kind of substance. Characters aren't very interesting. Plot isn't very interesting at all, but it is a very memorable movie, just for the fact that it established a legendary, horror icon in Jason Voorhees, who actually, contrary to popular belief, did not actually adopt his signature mask until the third one. I didn't even know that myself before I watched the first one just the other night. So yeah, that's very interesting. I found that to be very interesting, at least. Oh yeah, and horror music. Savage Mode 2. Go listen to it. Really gives off that very Halloween, creepy, sinister vibe. And it's just perfect if you're a hip hop fan. 21 Savage is that individual.
Look at me, bro. What? What the hell are you talking about?
Savage Mode 2?
Didn't that just come out?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm just letting people know. For all my hip hop fans out there, come on now.
Also, if you want to see a good parody movie, I suggest the Scary Movie.
Yeah.
Scary Movie franchise.
The first few.
The fifth one doesn't count.
I forgot.
It does not count.
I forgot there was a fifth one for a long time.
Yeah, the first two were done by the Wayans brothers. Those are really good. And it kind of fell off.
Only ever really saw the first two.
What's the other one called? Final Destination. I don't remember much about Final Destination, but I do remember watching it growing up. And it's pretty much exactly what it means in the name. It's your final destination.
It's really just a bunch of killing and people dying by accident and things like that. It didn't hold up. It wasn't that great back then, and to me it definitely didn't hold up.
Also, if you just want to watch a scary movie, just watch Batman or the Joker or something. Give you weird vibes. I don't remember seeing any of the Batman movies to date. The only one I remember was the one with the Penguin. Who plays that?
No, Danny DeVito.
Yeah, that's the only one I remember. I don't remember anything else about Batman other than the animated series. Mm-hmm. And of course, we saw Joker either early this year or last year. That was a really good movie.
It was alright. it was a great career-defining performance.
Yes, it was a great performance.
And Joaquin Phoenix, but wrapped up in a very, very average movie. Predictable plot, very derivative of Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, which, I mean, this movie is obviously very much inspired by Martin Scorsese movies, so I'm not surprised, but overall, it's a solid 6 out of 10. Don't believe the hype, people. I don't care what anyone says, Joker really ain't all that.
It's better than Birds of Prey.
Yeah, to be honest. And now Birds of Prey wasn't bad, it was just average.
Yeah, I cut some slack for DC movies. DC movies aren't what they used to be.
I mean, the DCEU, to be fair, is getting somewhat back on track.
We'll talk about that in another podcast episode. We got to talk about superheroes sometime.
True, definitely.
But other than that, thank you for listening. This was the Out the Mud podcast that's spelled with a D-A. Have a nice day. Don't get scared. And goodbye.